Hello and welcome to Prudent IS, one-stop solution for all the competitive exams. Do you guys know that your fundamental rights can be taken away by the government? Yes, during an emergency. And today we'll be breaking down these emergency provisions for you. The approach for this video will be the same like all our previous videos. We'll choose this topic, do some discussion over the topic, and then phrase a model question and the model answer, where I'll be telling you the do's and don'ts of answer writing. So without wasting time, let's begin with the topic. Emergency provisions in the Indian Constitution. They are mentioned in Part 18 of the Indian Constitution from Articles 352 to 360. The basic facts, very important for any topic. These grant the central government extraordinary powers during the times of crisis. So despite India being a federal structure, that is the division of powers is between the center and the state, but in times of emergency, this tends to become a more unitary structure. How we'll be looking at in detail. There are three distinct types of emergencies. First, national, second, state, and third, the financial one. Each addresses a different threat to the India's security and stability. First up, we have the national emergency, which is under Article 352 of the Indian Constitution. Let's first look at, I'll be telling you how to read a topic as well from exams perspective. When you will read this topic, what are the things you need to jot down? Similar to this structure. First, what are the grounds? Second, have been there any changes in that grounds? Third, how is that emergency proclaimed, the duration, the approvals? Fourth, what effects the emergency brings in? Fifth, some examples, and then some Supreme Court cases. See, this is not your polity class, so I'll be telling you all the topics at a glance, but for in-depth analysis, you can always comment in the section below, and we'll frame a video for each topic as well. So let's look at all these points at a glance. First, the grounds. Three grounds: war, external aggression, and armed rebellion. Originally, the term internal disturbances was mentioned, but later it was repealed by the 44th Amendment, and armed rebellion term was used because, see, internal disturbance term was very vague. The government can call any disturbance as internal disturbance. There was no specific definition. But under armed rebellion, there is the use of weapons which is very specific. Of course, war and external aggression are two very genuine causes of national emergency. Then next, the duration. Initially, the national emergency is proclaimed for 1 month. It can be extended indefinitely with the approval from both the houses of parliament every 6 months. So, this is proclaimed by the President of India, but again, since the President is a rubber stamp, the President on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. The extension can be done by both houses must approve the proclamation. And what is the approval time frame? See, initially it is for 1 month, but it must be approved within 1 month from the date of proclamation. What are the effects that it causes? Center gets the power to legislate on the state subjects. You must be knowing that there are three subjects amongst which the powers are divided: the union, state, and concurrent subjects. But under a national emergency, the union has the power to legislate over the subjects of states as well. See, this does not mean that the state subjects can be included in the union ones. No, state subjects will remain in that column only, but for the time being only, the union can legislate on those subjects. The fundamental rights under Article 19 are automatically suspended only in the cases of war and external aggression. So what you need to keep in mind is Article 19 is not suspended during armed rebellion. Reading between the lines is very important for answering the questions in prelims as well as mains. Next up, the President can modify the manner of the revenue distribution as well. So it gives immense power to the center when the country is under national emergency. Then it can also suspend the fundamental rights of the citizens except Article 20 and 21, which were brought in after 44th Amendment Act. We'll be looking at the checks and balances in the upcoming slide. Let's look at some examples. The most infamous one was the emergency declared by the Indira Gandhi government in 1975, citing internal disturbances, and because of this 44th Amendment was later carried out and this term was replaced by armed rebellion. It was very controversial one. Mass arrests, censorships, press censorship, constitutional rights were also curtailed. The first time when this emergency was imposed was in 1962, when India was at war with China. Then in 1971, when we fought a war with India and Pakistan. So what are the checks and balances for this provision? Thanks to the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, which was in 1978, that the emergency now needs the approval from both the houses within 1 month. This provision was added from the 44th Amendment Act. See, there are a few things which you need to keep in mind. First, the major amendments. Second, you need to study all the emergencies as a comparative study. For example, while reading the national emergency and state emergency, you need to understand that national emergencies affects the whole country, but state emergency will affect only the part of it. What are the durations of each? Who proclaims each? What are the effects of each? And most important is the examples. So coming back to the topic, it must be renewed every 6 months. These are all the checks and balances so that the emergency is not extended indefinitely, but there is some mechanism to check it. The fundamental rights cannot be suspended easily. Now they are not automatically suspended, but a flexible mechanism has been put in by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. Armed rebellion must be clearly mentioned, not vaguely declared as done in 1975 as for the internal disturbance. So these are the safeguards brought in by the 44th Amendment Act. Next up, we have the President's Rule, Article 356 of the Indian Constitution, also known as the State Emergency or Constitutional Emergency. The grounds are the failure of constitutional machinery in this state. Again, a very misused emergency, because see, the constitution, what exactly is the constitutional machinery? If the state fails to function as per the provisions of the constitution, but the government has discretion in this regard because it is invoked by the president only, but on government's report or otherwise. So a lot of loopholes, due to which this emergency has been used over 100 times in the Indian history, often for political reasons rather than the constitutional reasons. Initial duration is 6 months for this. For national emergency, it was for 1 month, then it needs to be approved here. Initially for 6 months. It can be extended every 6 months up to a maximum of 3 years. But for national emergency, the extension period was indefinite. Here, what is the key point? It can be for maximum of 3 years, but after 1 year, there are 2 conditions that needs to be met. Beyond 1 year, the 2 conditions that must be met is first, that is a national emergency must be in operation, या फिर the Election Commission of India must certify that elections cannot be held in that state. Now, because of the state emergency or the President's Rule, the state legislature is suspended or dissolved. A very important point. But under a national emergency, both the center will function, the state legislature will also function, just the transfer of power takes place. But in the President Rule, the affected state legislature is either dissolved or suspended, and completely the power, it is ruled by the center. So what are the examples? In Bihar in 2005, the President Rule was imposed due to hung assembly. Again, the failure of constitutional machinery. In 1992, now a controversial one, all BJP ruled states were dissolved because of the Babri Masjid demolition. So a political reason, then because of this, because this was so misused, the Supreme Court had to intervene, and very important judgment, SR Bomai case and the Sarkaria Commission, two important judgments under the President's rule. They laid down some strict guidelines. Now the SR Bomai case, Supreme Court ruled that President's rule can be subject to judicial review. So a very good hold on facts. Now what are all facts for polity? Dates, articles, constitutional provisions, Supreme Court rulings, some recommendations of the commissions. If you have a good hold on these and you will incorporate these in the answers, I'm sure you will fetch very good marks in mains. Next up is the financial emergency. The grounds threat to the financial stability or credit of India. The best part is this is not invoked till date. Important point to note, but while writing about all the emergencies, you will mention, because it is like a shield. But if it is invoked, then it will be also like a sword. Initial duration, indefinite. Approval time frame is by both the houses within 2 months. It might seem to you that I am covering all the points, but there are still some points which are remaining which you need to look upon. That is, with what majority the parliament houses need to approve. Is it a simple majority or a special majority? Mind you, in case of national emergency, special majority is required, but for other two emergencies, simple majority is fine. So again, a key point which you need to keep in mind, the effects that the financial emergency brings in. Center can direct the states on financial matters. Reduction of the salaries, including the judges, though the judges have been endowed with security of tenure and salary so that they are not biased, but under a financial emergency, even the salaries of judges can be reduced. Money bills of the states may need the presidential assent. So anything about money and finances must go through center. Example, though yes, it is never invoked, but in 1991 there was a balance of payment crisis which approximately led to the financial emergency. Thankfully it was not, because India somehow came out of it, but India had to seek to pledge its gold reserve and seek the IMF help. Then we also brought in some reforms which saved us from this deadly financial emergency. So this is the only emergency which has not been used in India. The other two have been used. Amendments to remember. Though I have already mentioned the 42nd and 44th amendment, very important, 42nd amendment is also known as a mini constitution because there are a number of amendments carried out and all are very important. So here, with respect to the emergency provisions, what are the amendments? First up is it strengthened the center's power during the Indira Gandhi's government. So because the Indira Gandhi government was in place, it is often argued that this amendment helped parliament gain more control. So it definitely strengthened the center's power. It made emergency provisions more rigid and expanded the government authority. But to counter these, there was the 44th Amendment Act, which altered all the provisions of amendments of 42nd. Most of them, not all, but most of them. So some safeguards were brought in. We discussed a couple. Some more are: written cabinet advice is required to declare the national emergency. Just bato mein hi you cannot pass a national emergency. A written advice is very important. Article 19, its suspension can be limited only to war and external aggression, but not armed rebellion, already discussed earlier. Parliamentary approval. This clause was brought in, very important, so that there is a check on the duration of the national emergency. Within 1 month, the parliament must approve it. Later, the duration was 2 months, so it was reduced to 1 month. How you can learn all these points? One is by tracing some parameters, as I already mentioned. What are the parameters? Grounds, the duration, approval mechanism, under which you will be knowing about the special majority, simple majority, both the houses, etc. Major effects that it brings in specifically with respect to the fundamental rights, with respect to the federal relation, that is the center-state relation. Next is examples and any key point, that is between the lines, if there is any key fact which you need to keep in mind. So you can just prepare a chart, a tabular format, write all these parameters, all the 3 emergencies. It will cover just 1 page and whole chapter will be covered. Or what you can do is make a mind map, that is a flow chart. Like for example, the topic is emergency provisions, national emergency, financial, president's rule, covered under both these. Any of the structure can be used. So what you need to do is just simplify your notes, simplify your understanding, because before the exams you need to revise all the major topics and you cannot go through Lakshmikant completely or some other books, right? So just make your notes as per the answers. That's why the importance of answer writing is very much, because while writing the notes also, the notes must look like answers. Therefore, you will have a better recalling power. Now, these emergency provisions are double-edged swords, essential during crisis but dangerous if misused. All these lines can be written in the conclusion, in between the essays if required. The Constitution balances this power with procedural checks, judicial review, and the role of Parliament for UPSC. Always connect this topic with, now very important part is in polity, linkages are asked. The UPSC is also modifying its techniques, so you need to link it with federalism, that is the changes between the center and state relationship. Fundamental rights I've already mentioned. Constitutional morality, a very hot topic from the polity section. So the major segment of our video, the model question. Today's question is, analyze the impact of emergency provisions on Indian federalism and civil liberties. As it is a 10 mark, 150 word short answer. The directive word is analyze. The demand is the impacts. Dimensions are 2, that is first Indian federalism and the second one is the civil liberty. Okay, let's move to the model answer. As I always request you all, just pause this video, write a sample answer yourself. You can do some self-evaluation when I'll discuss the answer, or you can just send us your answers in the group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS. There we evaluate one answer daily at no cost. Also, we send all these questions in a day advance. So how it helps you? You can send us your sample answers. You can also do some peer-to-peer interaction. You can access others' answers as well. So coming back to the model answer, always follow the intro, body, conclusion approach. I have emphasized it multiple times. Do not write these headings, structural headings. Just start from here. Give a very short introduction because we have 2 dimensions to address and the word limit is just 150. Usually I tell the students to keep the word limit 20 to 25 words in a 10 mark answer and 30 to 35 in 15 mark. But here it's better to use as less as possible so that you can focus more on the body. So emergency provisions, Article 350 to 360 empowers the center to act during crisis, directly impacting the federalism and fundamental rights. So we have linked the demand of the question, but we have mentioned a very key fact, that is the articles of the Constitution. You can even add part 18 of the Indian Constitution, which mentions these emergency provisions. So coming to the body of the answer, do not write this heading, just understand how you are going to structure. I always form the heading, subheading format. You can even use flowcharts, you can even use a tabular format, all are fine. The key points is make it neat, avoid cutting, avoid congestion. And very important, what is the most important part? Handwriting. All those students who feel that they do not have a good hold on handwriting, please start working on it today, because handwriting has a huge role to play. whenever I evaluate any answer, the first thing that is obvious is the handwriting. If the handwriting is good, the presentation is good, it will definitely help you fetch more marks. And in the mains anyways, in the marks, if you analyze, then the whole roll is of 30 to 40 marks, and if each answer you are getting 0.5 marks more than someone who has not a hold on good handwriting, then this will make a huge difference. So handwriting is very important. You have by yourself chosen this English medium, so you need to have a good hold on handwriting as well as language proficiency, another important aspect. Now by language proficiency, what do I mean? Do I mean that you need to be very fluent as per the British and American accents? No. Just phrase the content in very simple words, but keep the terminology as per subject. Work on terminology. Subject specific terminology will help you fetch good marks. First. Second is avoid grammatical mistakes. Very important. Because if you will commit these mistakes, now the meaning is often not conveyed properly. The whole meaning is changed if you do not have a good hold on content. So these were all the parameters. Coming back to the answer, impact on federalism. This was the first aspect which we'll address, and second we'll address impact on the civil liberties. I've written 3 points using the heading, subheading structure. Instead of bullets, I have used the numbers 1, 2, 3. You can even use ABC. Now, centralization of power. See, the choice of words for subheadings is also very important. Without even reading this point, I can understand that, okay, how it is going to impact. It will centralize the powers. It will affect the president's rule, suspension of the legislative functions. So during national emergency, center can legislate on state list. For example, the 1975 emergency. It suspends the state government, often criticized for political misuse. We have mentioned the national emergency aspect, then the president's rule. And during the president's rule, the state assembly is either dissolved or kept in suspension, disabling the democratic process at the state level. So what we read was just the basic facts that, okay, during national emergency, center becomes sarve sarva, all powerful. It can legislate over the state. But here you need to develop the linkages. You need to write the heading as per the content. If it was a 15-mark question, you can even add 2 more points. That is undermining of elected state leadership, financial dependency. Now these aspects will come from answer writing practice when you will develop a critical, analytical perspective of the topics. That emergency situations often lead to sidelining of the state chief ministers. Of course, very common, reducing them to the nominal figures. In 10-mark question, you can write 1, 2 or 3 points, but in 15-mark question, at least 4 to 5 points are required under each dimension to fulfill the word limit criteria. You can choose any of these. You can even rephrase these, add yours as well. I am open to everything. Just focus on the structure, how you are supposed to write. Next up is the second dimension, the impact on the civil liberties. Suspension of fundamental rights, preventive detention and the abuse of power as seen in 1975 under the laws like MISA, Maintenance of Internal Security Act, press censorship and judicial inaction seen during 1975 to 77 emergency. Very simple. The content is very simple, but from where you can enrich this content. First up, read articles. Instead of scrolling Instagram reels, what you can do is listen to the debates of the government. Not the political debates, but more enriched ones and more knowledgeable ones. Read the articles, and then you will develop the habit of analyzing the topics, analytical approach for the topics. Now here, 3 points are sufficient for a 10-mark answer, but this cannot be skipped. That is the conclusion. Do not write this heading conclusion. In a 10-mark answer, what students often do is they first write the way forward and then they write the conclusion. Then they'll write way forward, then they'll write a conclusion, heading, and then avoid doing this, save word limit. What you can do is whatever points you have for way forward, just write those in concise manner and conclusion only. By giving a way forward, just summarize the answer. So this will save you the word limit. emergency provisions safeguard the national integrity but can undermine democracy and federalism, which are two very important features of the basic structure. If misused, constitutional safeguards and judicial review is very essential to maintain this delicate balance. So we have highlighted that how it can be very dangerous if misused, but yes, there are certain provisions in the constitution and of course the provision of judicial review as per the SR Bommai case, which will help in maintaining this delicate balance. So that's it for today. I hope the topic is pretty much clear to you all. Just subscribe our channel Prudent IAS on YouTube and join our Telegram group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS. We'll be back with another interesting video soon. Thanks for watching.